The game. Lord Absu marched Jevon onto his vessel, Neptune's Revenge, with Quill and Ambra following. They entered a room that was a hybrid of laboratory and data centre, and strangely ordered given that the rest of Absu's ship appeared to be in a state of chaos. Jevon winked at his sister. "Don't worry. You know how much time I've spent playing and beating computer games." "Yeah, Jevon, but I don't think this is going to be anything like that." "Right. First you'll need these," said Absu, tossing an armful of equipment at Jevon. Ambra watched as Jevon donned the simulator gear, including a headset and sensors on his wrists and ankles. "Now into the VR room." Absu pointed at a smaller room that led from the main room, separated by a glass partition. A row of red leather recliners stretched across the width of the room. Jevon settled back into one of the oversized chairs, which was hooked up to a vast network of cables, lights, displays, and screens. Absu jabbed at a bank of buttons and the big screen atop the chair flickered on, but only showed a grey test pattern. Ambra watched her brother's jaw and limbs go limp. Then his face began to twitch in response to a stimulus that he could see, but she could only imagine. Absu flipped a switch and the screen above Jevon's head came to life. Ambra could see both the broader scene and a point of view shot of everything Jevon was seeing, but unlike him, she was not feeling it and aware it was not real. Jevon was in a vast, palatial, open-air pavilion, nearly in front of a richly dressed man wearing a headdress of purple silk, who presided over the room from his throne. At the side of the throne sat a tiny, adorable-looking creature, gently panting. Its fur caught the late afternoon sunlight that came streaming in through the side of the pavilion, giving it a golden halo. The Grand Man spoke to Jevon in a tongue that was completely unfamiliar, but that he was somehow able to understand. "This creature represents the rulership and ancestral lineage of my family. You will feed it, and it will grow and flourish. On pain of death, you will feed the creature whatever it needs." Jevon understood that at all costs the creature could not die, as it was symbolic of the strength and right to rule of the royal family. He led the sweet creature away to his modest quarters and took on the responsibility of caring for it. It was so innocent and cute, and on the first day it only ate 1 grain of rice. The next day, the creature was happy with only 2 grains of rice. As it grew, it needed more food. The following day it wanted 4 grains, and the day after that 8. All was well and manageable. But the more it ate, the bigger it grew. And the bigger it grew, the uglier it grew, demanding ever more rice. Jevon quickly identified a pattern and realised the creature required double the amount of food it had eaten the day before, every day. Trying to anticipate the creature's needs, he did some basic sums to determine the amount of food the creature would need. As the calculations became bigger, his ability to do the maths slowed. At 2 weeks, he became alarmed. At 4 weeks, the horror of his predicament dawned on him. He tried to warn the royal ruler, but he wouldn't listen. What was wrong with him that he couldn't see where things were heading? He was imperiling his empire, his subjects, and himself, though the evidence was right in front of him. Jevon's calculations could only extend so far using ink, paper, and his brain, but he knew he was in a no-win situation. What he couldn't know was that by the 9th week, the creature would need a heap of rice larger than Mount Everest and 1,000 times the world's total production of rice. There was not enough rice in the world to feed the creature's insatiable, exponentially growing appetite. But it was Jevon's task, and the only way to ensure his own survival, to keep feeding the beast. As she looked at the numbers her brother was scribbling down, which were getting larger and larger, the truth slowly dawned on Ambra. "That creature's food requirement is doubling every day," gasped Ambra as she spun around to face Quill. Quill's forehead was creased and he was silent. If he stops feeding that horrible creature, it will die and Jevon will be killed. But if he keeps feeding it, the food staple for that country will be gone within weeks and they will all starve, said Umbra. That's precisely the challenge of this experiment, beamed Abzu, wagging his finger at Umbra. Will he find a way to break out of the catch-22 he finds himself in? Umbra turned on Abzu, no longer afraid of the giant Nautilin. If he is killed or dies in the game, does he actually die? She demanded. Abzu did not respond. You let him go right now, hissed Umbra. He will stay with me while I refine this simulation, declared Abzu. I'm not leaving him here. Umbra made a charge for Jevon, but found herself caught in Abzu's iron grip. Abzu lifted her up by the arm so her face was level with his. His eyes locked onto hers. Now that he's been in longer than a few minutes, he believes this is his reality. Any touch, any loud sound will send him into shock, as he'll feel he's in two realities at once. I don't know what the consequences will be for him. Abzu put Umbra down and released his grip. Umbra shook herself free, glaring at Abzu, but did not attempt to approach her brother. When I say he can go, I'll release him. He will be returned to you, promised Abzu. What is this experiment? Asked Quill, face worried as he looked at Jevon, stuck in a double bind. Oh yes, I should name it. The Terrans love names for such things. What'll I call it? Abzu thought for a moment, then turned to Quill with a satisfied look on his face. Jevon's Paradox.